Yo,
What's up?
do you ever listen to this podcast after we record it?
Yeah. Well,
Sometimes.
sometimes.
How do
Not
you
often, but
how do you feel about listening to your own voice and the way that you say things?
like I'm hating it less and less, but don't you
Yeah.
still hate it?
Yeah, I mean, every time when we're in a conversation and I'm saying something, I'm just like, "This is a good point, John. Great job." And then I
Yeah.
listen to myself afterwards. I'm like, "What a fucking asshole."
Dude, I do that except for I go, wow, that's a good way to say that. Like, because I'm thinking about it as I'm saying it, so I kind of like almost stutter through it, but I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a good point. And then after I'm like, it's so clear that I'm struggling through this point that I'm just now.
Dude, how about this? How about like when you listen to a podcast, and like when you're listening to a podcast and it's like a conversation you really want to be a part of, you have like the thoughts in your head about what you would say
Yeah.
next. So
Yeah.
like whenever I do listen to and I don't listen to it a lot back, but I started to a little bit more as we're doing this to try and kind of like get better and like understand the way that I respond to things and say things, whatever. I'll be listening to one of our conversations, and then I have that thought process, totally forgetting what we talked about. And then in my head, I respond with a thought. And then on the podcast, I say that exact thing that I'm thinking without me even knowing. And I'm like, well, I guess that's exactly how I feel,
So that's what you're saying is that you're so you.
Yeah.
The,
I
the
only
alternate
have one
universe
answer.
John, dude, alternate universe John is living the exact same. There is no.
It doesn't matter which dimension I'm in. I am the same person.
Oh no. Yeah, no, I've started listening as well. I don't love listening to myself.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to get used to.
I wonder if I like came back to listen to this in like 20 years once I'm a little bit older and wiser, if I'm just going to be so sickened by myself.
No, because I think that like a lot of unless we're clearly joking, like the logic or reasoning is there behind like the ideas.
I mean, that's good.
So
I mean, if we did this when I was like 14 and then I had to go back and listen to like a 14-year-old me doing a podcast, I think I would have a hard time with it.
Pre-COVID me was very different.
All it took was a pandemic to straighten you out, man.
Yeah. How do you feel about what do you think about those like the internet guru people? How do you think they feel about listening to themselves speak?
I think they absolutely love every single word that they hear out of their own mouths.
You think? Or you think that they're like can't believe that worked?
No, every internet guru is I don't think that they are so I think that they are snake oil salesmen.
Yeah.
But I feel like the only way to get as popular as they are is to kind of like drink their own Kool-Aid, so to speak. Like I know in Jonestown they didn't actually drink Kool-Aid, but for the saying at least that people are familiar with. I gotta clear that up, man. I listen to a lot of cult stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that they didn't drink Kool-Aid.
What do you think about purple Nikes? They weren't wearing purple Nikes though either, right? Or like purple jumpsuits in
No, in Jonestown?
Yeah.
In the other
was that
one,
Jonestown?
No, the other one, what do you call it? Hellbop. The one that I remember very clearly because I was in high school. They were wearing black Nikes, which is, I love black Nikes. I wear black Nikes. When I was watching like the newest documentary that HBO had about it, which for some reason the name is escaping me right now. But and this is one of those things that I would listen back to, and I'd be like yelling at myself, be like, "It's blah blah blah," But like,
no, but we also don't Google things like while we're going.
No. Keep the flow.
Yeah,
but like,
and I think that's what's.
Oh, go ahead.
I just feel like that's what's ruined conversations. Is like even conversations that I'm in when I'm like, let me just Google that really quick.
Yeah,
it's like, I know they're wrong. I don't need to Google them. Google to figure out they're wrong. We can just keep going with this conversation.
Right, and it's Heaven's Gate, by the way, because I just Googled it.
Yeah.
But like HBO had they had this documentary on the Heaven's Gate cult, and they're talking about the end, like when they all kind of committed mass suicide, and they're showing like the black Nikes or whatever. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, damn, those fucking sneakers are nice, you know.
And you own them.
Yeah.
Don't you own them?
I mean, basically.
You and your entire family?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Hold on, I think I was supposed to do something about 30 minutes ago. It's really quiet in this house.
Oh, man. And everybody thinks that they're wearing purple jumpsuits, but I think it's what they covered them up with.
The sheets. The
sheets were purple.
Yeah. Right. But what were we talking about? Internet gurus. Before we started making fun of death cults.
Yeah. Do you realize that they tell you hustle, follow your dreams,
like
blah 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 blah.
Yep.
But they never tell you. They're pretty like obscure about like how.
Yeah, it's also, and the people who are internet gurus too, like, they never really have anything of value to share. Like, they say all this stuff, but like the shit that they actually make, where you're just like, hey, I'm an XYZ and I like to make things and I want to be successful at it, so I'm going to listen to this person who is clearly very successful, and I'm going to listen to what they have to say, so because they know how to be successful doing this thing. And then you like look at that thing that you do and that they do, and they don't even do it. And if they do it, it's garbage.
But don't you think that's the point, is like maybe not, you can't fall for like what has become successful? Because I mean, if you look at like the top levels of what is successful as a president, what is successful as like, it's insane. It's like, that's not a good example of a successful person in that line of work.
No, you're totally right. Because it's just like, well, it kind of goes to like that thing where, and this isn't true for everybody, but the saying is definitely has some weight, where it's like those who can't do teach type of deal.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the internet gurus kind of fall into. They fall into that bucket of that particular thought process, where they're just like, hey, I can operate this one thing kind of, but I could fucking talk the talk, and I'll make sure that everyone who has a little bit of self-doubt follows me and worships me for no goddamn reason, But
that's what they're after, right? Is like, just, that's what sucks, is like they are like, listen, I want you to be successful. I want you to, do you think Tony Robbins, who cares about that guy, right? Do you think he cares about anybody that he like is helping to like be successful, be the best version of themselves?
No, and you know what the thing is too, is that I feel like maybe like those types of gurus, like maybe they also hate themselves more than they can possibly imagine. You know what I mean?
Everyone.
Yeah, I feel like maybe that's what makes them become gurus, is that they hate themselves so much that they have to try to talk themselves into becoming worth something in their own eyes, and in the process of doing so, feel like if they teach other people how to feel like they're worth something, that will actually make them be worth something.
Because they've helped people.
Yeah,
they're a good person.
But in reality, everything that they're doing is completely surface. So like people will listen to them and think that they're learning from it, but they can't actually take anything from it. And then they'll be teaching people thinking that they're doing something, but the people who are listening are only skimming the surface. So really nobody's getting anything out of it but just a bunch of garbage.
Except for there's like a few people that will break through and be like, probably actually make something of themselves, even though they like read some shitty book. And then they'll like attribute their success. They'll be like, oh, like I also read this book or listened to this dude speak. And then it kind of like validates.
Yeah, but it's like those are the types of people who would do it anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it just validates like the person that was like, oh, my name's whoever, and I taught this person.
Right.
It's like, most of my teachers from like grade 1 to 12 were pretty much useless.
Yeah, right.
I attribute nothing of my success to any of them. Maybe like my art teacher, but like other than that, it's like, but they all taught you, like try to teach you lessons, and I don't know.
I had some teachers that I liked through school, not counting college, but I don't know if I think about any of them as having like an impact on my life.
Yeah.
I can name a couple people from college that, and it's not necessarily like from a work standpoint always, but just a personality standpoint that had an impact on me, you know?
Yeah. That's weird about our industry, I feel like. Or I feel like this is unique, but it might not be unique, is we will like meet people or have experiences, and then well, I guess being a creative in general, and then it like affects your work. And so you're attributing, like a mechanic doesn't attribute his success to like meeting a person and being like,
Right.
now I'm a better mechanic. But like we can like have these experiences, I guess, as artists or designers.
Because I think you have to, being a creative person is about, it's almost sometimes less about the work and more about, well, actually, no, I think it's fucking totally, it's less about the work, more about the process, right? Like when you're a mechanic, maybe your process can vary a little bit from mechanic to mechanic, but in the end, you just have to fix the thing that's broken. You know, in our world, there is no right answer. And and even if there were a right answer, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will work. You know, like you could follow the outline of how one brand designed themselves and spoke to their customers and everything to a T, and your shit will fall flat on its face, and you won't know why because you followed that outline perfectly. But it's just like it's all about like right time, right place, right analyzation of like where you are, what you mean, what your value is, how people perceive. Like there's too many things to take into account that doesn't exist for other types of industries, I think.
Yeah. Actually, that's a really good point. Is like we had shot some stop motion stuff previously, and I have like my whole setup for that. And we're just about to shoot another stop motion project, and I'm like looking at my setup, and I'm like, oh, this setup doesn't work at all.
Yeah, right.
For the new project that we're shooting, even though it's like, dude, I was so amped about it. It's like perfect setup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's just like I got to start from scratch and start problem solving, like just how to approach the project. You know?
That's definitely a thing that happens a lot. Where I'm just like, and even from an organizational standpoint, like like how many times I've ever tried to like organize like client stuff or billing stuff or files or whatever, and I'm like, that's it. This is it. It's going to be like this forever. And then like after like 6 months, you're like, man, this doesn't work at all.
Yeah. No. Oh, actually though, you just showed me a few ways you organize projects and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten a little bit better, but there's always things that you could make better, you know? And I'll tell you one thing too, when it comes to like new apps and stuff coming out, I feel like I always have a wandering eye. Like if there's like another app that comes out and I'm just like, wonder if that could organize my shit a little bit better, you know?
I don't know. You got me to switch accounting software, and it was like the best thing I'd ever done because my previous FreshBooks was bullshit.
Yeah, FreshBooks sucks.
But switching over, I was like, oh, this is going to be so easy.
Yeah.
Because I did it at the end of the year. It wasn't very easy. It kind of was like a bit of a headache.
Right.
And now it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess like I'm on the same page as you. I'm open to new apps.
Yeah, I'm always open because I feel like there's always like a better way. Like there's never just the best way.
Yeah.
You know, the best of anything doesn't exist.
The best way is just to let somebody else do it for you. And wake up with them stealing your millions and millions one day.
Embezzlement is the way.
Yeah. I think that happens every time, right? Like
I'm pretty sure.
With every celebrity that like hires like an accountant and a business manager and stuff, they always just like lose their money, even if it's their brother or like their mom.
It always happens. Someone's always embezzling from somebody.
Yeah, like I'm trying to do it with you right now.
You're trying, but I won't let you.
You want to do the hot minute?
Wait, are we up to the hot minute already?
Yeah. Well,
there it is. I guess it means we're up to the hot minute.
We'll go. What does big dog say to small dog?
It's just like, well, that sound means that it must be hot minute time.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. Yo, especially like I've had a few people be like, yeah, I could do without the sounds. I'm like, hey, well, it was nice having you as a listener.
Yeah. Oh, you think we do this for you? None of this is for you.
Yo, I literally sit here and just play with these buttons before we get on sometimes. I'm just like, yo, check out this sound.
You're like 3 hours before we got on today, John's like just testing out the new sounds.
Check this one out. It's a sheep.
Do you have a sheep?
No, I don't have a sheep.
Oh, we need sheep.
Yeah, I know. But I got this. Which, oh, dude, you know what we need to do? We need to do a quiz, like a quiz show on here for something. And I got to ask you some questions, and you got to answer. And if they're right...
What if they're wrong?
I don't have that sound yet. But I'll find one. It'll be like a wah, wah, or some shit.
Oh, man, that would be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
We could do that with guests as well.
Yeah, we can.
But just say they're wrong when they're right.
Yeah.
Just
I
no
like
matter
that.
what.
Or like make it like opinion questions, and then just say right or wrong.
The color black is the best color in the world. You're correct.
All right, cool. All right, this is how we work.
And I literally, all right, yeah. What does big dog say to small dog?
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, what does big dog say to
Who writes these? Who writes these questions?
I don't know, but I feel like the answer is just like woof.
Oh man, I don't like that. What does big dog say to small dog? This is what big dog says to small dog. Did you finish that yet?
The big dog just. Oh, you're talking in terms of work. I'm thinking about food. Big dog would just take the food.
Yeah, but the question was written with DAWG. That means like us, I think.
Yeah.
What's up, big dog? That's you. You're small dog.
Yeah, but no, my neighbor is small dog.
You're fucking. You know what your name is? If you were a cartoon, your name would be Small Dog Short Pants.
Small dog short pants. What is
You fucking live in a pineapple under the sea. You're Small Dog Short Pants.
Small dog short pants. Since the topic of wrestling comes up every so often, I'm wondering what your character or gimmick would be if you two were wrestlers.
Oh man, that's a fun question.
You know what? The guy who cuts my hair was telling me he just joined a D&D league, I guess.
Wait, like Dungeons and Dragons?
Like Dungeons and Dragons, but it is wrestling.
What?
So they roll dice just like Dungeons and Dragons, but they wrestle. Like they don't wrestle, but they're characters that they make up. Like enter the game and are like they play it like D&D, but they're wrestlers. It sounds hilarious. It's ridiculous.
I don't even understand. I mean, I understand kind of how it works. Like you roll the dice and like some fucking like storyline occurs.
Yeah, it's kind of like, and then you roll for like chance.
Wait, but
so
do they actually wrestle, or is it still like D&D where you just kind of sit there and eat Cheetos?
Yeah, you just sit there and eat Cheetos.
Okay.
But this would be our chance to make our characters for.
Oh fuck, man! I would be. Oh man, what would I be if I had to be like a wrestling character? It's so funny because like I was just there's a designer and animator out in England, Fraser Davidson. Super cool guy, does amazing work. Check him out if you can. But he does this thing where it's like he recreates all like the old school wrestlers from like the 80s and shit in like this like 3D style on Instagram, and like sometimes he makes them look like they're like action figures. And it's like such a cool. Man. And I was looking at him all night last night when I was just like zoning out. And because he did like 100 of them in like 100 days or something, and it was super cool. And it makes you think about like shit that we used to watch as kids, like me and my brothers, and like all like the stupid storylines. It shit would be on like Saturday mornings, whatever. And we would watch it, and then we would just like wrestle each other because we were brothers, you know.
Yeah.
And we used to come up with stuff all the time, and I would be like, I'm Snake. And you know my brother.
Wait, you're Snake?
Yeah, I'm Snake, and I'm gonna fucking coil you or some shit. And then I would do like a move or something, you know. But as an adult, if I had to actually come up with a character, I don't know, man. It would have to be something. I would want to be a bad guy if I was a wrestler. And
Yeah, yeah.
because it's whenever I play with my kids with like their toys or whatever, and they're like, oh, let's play this or let's play that, and it's like they're all little characters. I'm always an antagonizing villain, always, and like they always just want to like oh hi, did you go to the store? And I'll be like, yeah, I went to the store and I left a like I stole all your stuff when I was there or something, and I just create like all this like stressful activity for them to go through.
Terrorizing your kids.
Always, always.
And I'd be Brent the Hitman Hart.
Oh, nice. Very creative.
Yeah. Dropped a T for an N.
Wow. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. So I would antagonize children, and you would be someone that exists already, except with a different letter.
Yeah, and people would sometimes mistakenly come to my fan site instead, and that's how they would discover me.
You instead of like pink and black, you would just be like a hot purple and black, like
Yeah,
neon
yeah,
purple.
like yeah, no, I'd just be like a weird mixture. I'd just be the opposite.
Yeah, right. Still pink and black, but in the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's a good idea.
All right, next question. This was a long one, so we kind of had to condense it a little bit. I'm not a bad designer, but I'm nothing remarkable. I don't really have a thing or a niche like you or David Carson or Alan Peters do. Most seem to have some sort of style or philosophy, and they pledge allegiance to it. But I don't have much of anything specific pinned down yet. I was wondering how you went about deciding that your rough, raw style was the right solution for you.
Damn, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Um,
Who's
that
David
is.
Carson?
No, it was so funny too because I was just, oh man, it's weird. I was just looking at David Carson shit online too. He actually spoke with me and the Hood Sisters at the Dribble New York thing that we did, which I think that was the last conference I spoke at before all this shit happened. But yeah, that was funny. You can't just decide this is my style.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I ever decided that this was my style. I never picked it. I never wanted this to be my style. This was always just a thing that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I tried to be something or emulate something, it always just ended up looking the same. And it always ended up looking the way that I made it. And it's never something that I ever wanted my shit to look like. I didn't want my work to look like this at all.
Yeah.
I always had favorite designers and styles and stuff that I loved, and I wanted it to look like that. I didn't want it to look like what I do. And then somewhere along the line, I think it might have been CXXVI times, like when we started that, and people, like, I just put it all out there on the line, and people responded to it. It made me kind of realize a little bit more that maybe the thing that I always was something that I could embrace, just the fact that it was there. So it was just kind of like having to recognize that the same thing that I did all the time, it's not that it was bad and that I wasn't getting better at something. It's just that I was something else. And I had to recognize that I was something different than what I was trying to be. And once I recognized that, then I was able to embrace what I actually was and then lean into it and learn about who I am and what I was about and all that kind of stuff. So it was first recognizing, like, and I've always like kind of known like I do things in a certain way, but being able to recognize it took years, like 10 years before I recognized that I was like a certain thing. And then it took more time to be able to explore what I was and turn it into something that was recognizable by other people and not bad at the same time. So it's just like it's not like you can just guess or wish to be something. You have to be able to step outside of your body, analyze what you're doing, figure out the things that keep repeating in your work. What is it? And it doesn't necessarily have to be visual. It could be intangible? What do you keep doing over and over again that maybe you don't realize that you do, that maybe someone else doesn't do? How does that play into what you could be? And can you take that thing and make it better than where you are now? So it's like
Yeah.
it's a total kind of like out of body experience where you have to be critical of yourself, but in a positive way. How, like, instead of just being like, I hate that I do this, I hate that I do that, you got to just say like, what is this thing that makes me different? What is this thing that makes me unique that maybe I don't like about myself? But is it something that is so unique that no one else has that I can really make mine? I can make my own. Like the best thing that you could ever teach a kid on the playground is like, if kids are bullying them about something, about their physical appearance or something like that, if you take that away from them and you own it and you live it and you're proud of it, no one can make fun of it. And you disarm the bullies that way if you take it away from them and you own it and you love it and you use it as a superpower as opposed to a weakness.
But you have to actually love it.
Right. But you have to understand that it's something that makes you special. It's not something that makes you worse. It makes you special. Special is good. Special is always better than not, you know? Like, you don't, like, there's so many kids that is like, I just want to be like a regular kid. I just want to be like this. No, you don't. You want to be different. You want to be unique. You want to be interesting. Like, that's what makes you memorable. That's what turns your life into something that is worth living. If you want to be just like everybody else, as a kid, and then you decide to follow the path of just like everybody else, and we've all seen it a million times.
Yeah.
By the time high school's over, and maybe even college, those kids literally end up being just like everyone else, and they're just like boring adults with boring lives, and then boring kids of their own, and it's just like that's where the mediocrity comes in, where the people just want to be like everybody else.
That's the only reason I got Facebook, is to check up on those people. That's right, motherfucker. You're the same.
You thought you were so cool, but now look at you. You're boring as shit.
Yeah, dude. Turns out cool is boring as shit. That's a hard thing, though. Because what you're saying, too,
really
is like,
hard. Really
to
hard.
actually accept those things about yourself and to realize that it's not a downfall.
Right.
It is a positive. Or it's not even like it's a positive, but like you could make it a positive. Like you can make it.
I would say hard. There's even people who seem like from the outside looking in, they seem like they got all this shit together. They seem like their style is so clean and beautiful and perfect and whatever. But, I mean, they could be just projecting that shit as hard as they possibly can. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's them. They could just be really good at putting on a show. And when you talk to them, they might not be anything like what they put out into the world. And to me, that is a failure. Like, to me, and this is a personal opinion too, like it might not, maybe other people don't see it this way, but to me, it feels like a success to be a person, be okay with who you are, put who you are out into the world, and be successful because you're happy with who you are. That, to me, feels like a success. Like, I feel good about myself once I was finally able to recognize these things that I thought were failures, that I thought were negative things about myself. When I could embrace them and turn them around, I felt like that was the success right there. And then everything else after that doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't matter how much you get paid. It doesn't matter who you work for, who you work with, what you do, whatever. If you can find a way to figure out why what you are is good and necessary and special for the universe, then you win. And then other people will see that, because if you can find that, then that will translate into confidence, because you will feel good about what you are as opposed to trying to hide what you are. And if you feel confident about something, that's what attracts people to you, because a confidence in something that's different is always appealing. It's always more appealing than whatever the alternative could be. If you're different and you're confident, everyone in the world will turn around and look at you and just be like, whoa, look at what this person's up to.
Do you think though, to get to that place that you're talking about, like this is kind of going back to the guru bullshit, but it's like you have to be able to recognize the people that are confident but that are like truly infiltrating whatever that is. Like to sell a diamond, you kind of got to know what a fake diamond looks like. Because
Right.
most people are not going to know what a fake diamond looks like.
Exactly. Right.
But you
Right.
need to. You need to. So to successfully sell whatever you're selling, you got to know. And it's like,
Right. Well, the only way to do that is to have that kind of like introspective moment, you know, where you're
yeah,
just like looking at it and you analyze it. You have to be like critical from a third party standpoint. You can't. You have to figure out a way to pull yourself out of your brain and just be and recognize all these, you know, these elements of your personality. You know, it's just like
mhm.
I think people ask about style all the time, but to me, style comes down to who you are as a person. Like like a lot of times when I want to design to the best of my abilities, I will find something that makes me really mad because it will rile me up. It doesn't have to even have anything to do with what I'm doing. But if I find
Yeah.
something that can really rile me up and get like those like raw feelings boiling to the surface, and then I can put on some like loud music or something like that, I will design the shit out of whatever I'm doing.
Yo, dude, I feel you know what it is about that works
Well,
is it feels, and this might not be accurate, but uh, it kind of feels like survival at that moment
right. Yeah.
because you're
No, that's
so
true.
fucking angry about it. Like you need to, it's not that you need to prove something, but it's like you need to accomplish this
Yeah.
because you're angry and you gotta, I don't know.
Well,
That's a
it
weird thing.
it feels like you have it's you have this feeling inside that you need to release, and it's just like, you know, it's kind of like when people always like make fun of like poets or whatever, where it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, you're so moody, you're so this and whatever, but like it's kind of like using your human experience to instead of just going outside and like yelling at somebody, you release it in a different way, you know, and that different way is through kind of like a creative outlet,
Yeah.
you know. And I'll sit there sometimes when I'm mad about something, or you know, it's usually I do better when I'm mad than when I'm happy, because when I'm happy I don't want to be bothered with solving problems,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know. When I'm mad about something, I feel like something is wrong and I need to correct it. And one way
Yeah.
that I can correct it is by making something beautiful that can live in the world, that can disarm some of what's negative about something, whatever is making me mad at the time, you know?
I could agree. I don't know if it's anger though, but it's definitely something close to
Yeah, I
anger.
don't know if it's anger. It's something else.
But it is like,
it's like a frustration with a an injustice, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean political or something like that. It's just something that shouldn't be. That you're
yeah.
just like, this is bullshit, and I need to find a way to help get the universe back on track. And the one way I know I can
Yeah.
do it is by trying to make something that's beautiful and memorable that people can pay attention to and pay less attention to that thing.
So then, do you think that in this instance, style follows less, or style follows secondary to the idea?
Yeah, I think style is the product of the process of finding all this out. Like, you
Mhm.
have to go through all these things, and once you feel this certain way, and once you let loose, and your true person has been released, and you're free, and there's none of these boundaries, then you just make, and then you can kind
Yeah.
of focus on the little details. But once you're making at that point, then it's pure and it's raw and it's whatever you are,
Yeah.
you know?
That's fun. That reminds me, years and years and years ago. Do you know Paul Sayre?
Yeah.
Paul Sayre, the designer. He came to Calgary, and I
Poor,
spoke to him, and he's
poor guy.
yeah. Poor guy. Him and his wife, Emily Oberman of
Mm-hmm.
Pentagram.
Right.
And I spoke to him, and he said he had a student at one time that they were kind of all picking their own exercises, I guess, for what they were doing. I guess it was like a master's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like of whatever of art. And the one kid just designed like a logo for the same thing for like a thousand logos or something like that for the exact same idea.
Yeah.
And he said like in the beginning it was like pretty obvious what the kid was doing. And then you see like this moment where like the kid doesn't have any directions to go anymore. Like he's kind of
Yeah.
exhausted all his ideas. And he said after you see like those exhausted ideas, that's where it starts making sense.
Yes.
And you start seeing like pretty amazing, like unique
Yeah. Yeah.
ideas. And it's like
Yeah.
after he had already done the obvious and then felt like it was over for him. Like he had just started exhausting his ideas, drawing
Mm-hmm.
like, the same logo over and over. And it's funny because you kind of did that with me on a project that I recently worked on.
Dude,
Where it was like,
that is my exact process. This is the
yeah, yeah,
exact
yeah.
process every time. You do
I
the
know.
obvious ideas first, get them out of your head. Then you go down the direction of just like feeling completely useless. And then at some point, if you just keep pushing, you break down the walls, and then all of a sudden, you're doing cool shit. That's just like, oh man, there's the ideas. You know?
Yeah, but it's funny because you did that with me, and then that story didn't even make sense. Like I was like, what a waste of fucking time. Like that kid sounds stupid.
It sounds stupid.
But it's like once you work through that process with me,
Right.
I was like, oh, this worked. It's like it's very clear why it worked because it's like that is what happened. Is like I was
Yeah.
happy with the obvious, not the obvious, but it's like I felt like I exhausted all my ideas. This was the one that worked pretty well,
Right.
and you're like, just keep going. And then it was like the next one was like
Yep.
the next like three were the ones that I actually ended up putting in the.
Dude, the funny thing is once you break down that barrier, then the ideas just keep coming, and you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
what if I do this? 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 And you're just like, then you just got to decide when to stop.
Yeah. Which we talked about as well. Is like that's my biggest downfalls. I don't know when to stop where the idea is. You know what I mean? Which one's the one to pursue?
There's no rhyme or reason of when you stop. There's
Yeah.
just like a moment. Like for me, and it's never easy. We're working with an architecture firm right now doing branding for them, and I've been working through this, and it's been tough because I want it to be different than every
Mhm.
other architecture firm out there, and they're all very much the same, and I want this one to be different because they're the owner or the main partner is a different type of architect. He's very he's very organic in the way he draws. He draws like an illustrator, which is not
Mhm.
what most architects do, you know. And there's so I've it's so funny. There is so much of standard architect design that you need to weed through first before you can get to the boring stuff and then get to the breakthrough. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting there to be that much of it with this particular, because like a creative is a creative and blah 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 whatever. Like it's almost to the point where you feel like you're branding yourself because you have to get past the cliche shit.
Yeah.
And there's just so much cliche shit. Like there's so many things that you can lay out that is just cliche as hell.
Yeah.
And I didn't think there was going to be that much until I started actually doing it, and it was it's been wild. But as soon as you get to that point where you can finally break through, like to me, it's just like I'll find a spot that feels really nice, and that's usually the spot that I want it to land. And 9 times out of 10, I will push that on the client as this is the direction you want to go.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll have a few and I'll sleep on it and I'll come back and I'll start putting things together and I'll realize that the whole process actually did like there was actually some decent stuff even in those middle phases. There'll be some
Mhm.
things that like once I put it together with like an end phase part and maybe like a beginning phase and merge them together, then it's like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. Like there was something good in there, but I just didn't recognize it because it was just in the friggin' the sludge chute of just shit that was
Yeah.
falling out. But yeah, there's no way to just know when to stop.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to feel when to stop. And sometimes one thing just works so well, you're just like, yeah, no, that's it. I'm good. You know?
That's what's weird too, is like what you just said. There's like, when somebody wants to teach you the process, it's like, so you showed me like processes that work and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then there is a certain amount of it that is like, you can't teach somebody like when to pursue something, or like
Right.
you can tell them pursue that. Like if they show you it, you can be like, I'd pursue that. But it's
Right.
like your choice to pursue that is as good as like theirs would have been to pursue
Yeah.
probably any of them, you know?
Yep. Yep.
It's a, that's what's so, yeah, man, we have a shitty industry where we have like a shitty job. You know what I mean? Like that sucks.
The part about our job that's shitty is that every time you start a new project and every time you get to a certain point, you end up hating yourself. Like, I don't know if there's a lot of other jobs where it like forces you to hate yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then once you finally get through it, you feel good about it. You don't like yourself. You just feel relieved.
Yeah.
You know?
It is like a relief. You're like, oh man, I made that work.
Yeah.
Like, man, I made that work. And then you're like, man, you'll get proud. Like, I don't know if you get proud, but you'll hit a point where you're like, I did a pretty good job on that. And then the next project comes and you're like,
Here we go again.
ground zero
Here
again.
we go
Yeah.
again.
I'm a piece of shit. I don't have any ideas. I don't know what to do.
It always starts of like, this is going to be sick. I got so many ideas. And then you start working out those initial ideas and you're like, oh God,
Yeah.
this is terrible.
If I showed people like some of my like sketches in my sketchbook for like where things led, but like the originals and things like that where I felt like I was going decent, it's like so horrible and like so
Yeah.
obvious.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know what? That's probably yeah. You don't hear many people admitting that. Do you have like your go-tos in terms of when you can't figure something out? Like, do you have tricks to get yourself out of those
Yeah.
problem spots? Where you know
Yeah.
something, you just kind of got to get the job done. Not even just get the
Yeah.
job done, but
Yeah. You know, I feel, the funny thing is like, I always had those for a long time, but I feel like I might be at a point where I may have exhausted them slightly because I made
yeah,
some of them actually end up working. Like usually
yeah,
they used to be more of a crutch because I
yeah,
knew like it wasn't going to work for the project, but it would look cool. And then
hmm
the idea would be like just trying to get my brain to the point where I was happy with how something looked enough to feel creative to keep going as opposed to
yeah,
just getting stuck and like being like on a plateau somewhere. But
yeah,
I've made some of those things actually work for some clients to the point of just like those were my tools to launch me into something else where I'm like, oh fuck, now I need to make a whole new toolbox of stuff to
because
use to kind of
you've
get me
completely
into that zone.
yeah. That's a hard part that I feel like a lot of these questions that we get. I feel like I'm at that point where it's um, like this person it doesn't feel like particularly like a great designer or anything, but
Right,
like they're good enough, and like that's a kind of a shitty spot to be at because you can get work done
yeah,
effectively,
right,
but also like it's nothing great, but it's like yeah, you could sell work, and it's like that's a it's a hard place to be because I feel like I can make something look okay,
right.
but is the idea there? And it's like probably not,
Yeah, but that's like that just comes with experience, you know. I mean,
unless you just keep
I can't I can't emphasize enough how much of my career I spent just being like, I know how to make stuff look cool, but like, what does it mean? Who cares?
yeah,
You know, like
yeah,
what this doesn't. And it's like the things that I was always the worst at was logo design, T-shirt design, shit that like people know me for now. You know, and it was just like I could never quite understand the formula of how to make that look good, and then how to and how to kind of create a story behind it to make it something that people would want to latch onto.
yeah,
But over time and through trial and error and lots of failure, I kind of figured out like, okay, this is it, and this is this, and this is that, or whatever, and that's become like my it's all about narrative. It's all about process. It's all about the way you think. It's all about the way you connect, emotions,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. Like, and I think it comes from so much failure that it's easier to be honest with yourself once you've failed enough to just be like, okay, like I get it, I'm a loser. Now can I just like start like learning from this?
Yeah. I guess that leads kind of into like, yeah, you kind of just keep faking it, even though
Yeah.
you know it's like it's fake. You're like, I'm
Right.
faking this until
Yep.
you can like be in a place where you don't have to fake it anymore.
Right. Right.
Yeah. All right, I got a new section.
A new section.
A new section for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any? Do you have any? All right. This is
What is it?
throwbacks to some of the first questions we've ever gotten.
How about that? How's that? Is that good?
That's good.
Throwbacks.
I wrote down.
Damn.
Yeah, I wrote down quite a few.
Look at this guy.
But I mean, we could tackle one.
This might be the first time you've actually done something on your own for the podcast. It's like episode 1.
You know what? Get ready, because there's gonna be a lot more of that.
Oh shit, I'm ready.
Until we get busy again.
Yeah.
And then it's just back to normal.
Yeah.
Fucking. So this might be the third question we ever got, but so would you talk about what 90s cartoons inspired your doodles when you were growing up? If you have to compare today's cartoons to what existed in the 90s, what would you point to as the distinguishing difference?
Dude, this is going to be like exactly what I was talking about at the beginning of the show, where I'm probably going to answer it exactly the same.
You know what?
Yeah.
As much as since the beginning of doing this podcast, this might be the first time that I've ever actually done something for the show.
Yeah.
You just said that. I feel like people have gotten weaker with their questions, because this is a pretty good question. And now we get like, what does Big Dog say to Little Dog?
Yeah, but is that our fault? Do we just like say really stupid shit and we've just dumbed people down?
We've like curated this like bullshit question asking.
God.
Uh-oh.
Maybe I should stop talking about like talking magic dogs and fucking start talking about real shit.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yo, I played that episode for Erin and she was laughing.
She thought it was funny.
Hard. Yeah, dude, it was hilarious. I still think about that.
All right, that's good.
So 90s cartoons.
I still don't know the meaning of life, man.
Next year.
Yeah, next year maybe. Next year. 90s cartoons, man. Fucking. It'll. I mean, there's so many 90s cartoons. You know what? I'll expand a little bit because I don't remember exactly what I said, but there was a lot of 90s cartoons that were stylistically amazing, right? You had your obvious Gen X, Ren and Stimpy and Beavis and Butthead. Mm-hmm. You had your Nickelodeon, Dawg, Rocko's Modern Life, Rugrats. You had your like Cartoon Network, like Turner-ish cartoons, Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls. What was like, like that whole kind of like style, those like really, really thick-lined, like graphically flat, like semi, like inspired by anime almost type things, but like also like really like iconic looking at the same time. The 90s was a really great, interesting time for cartoons. And then you had your like indie shit that MTV would play, like Liquid Television, The Max, Eon Flux, The Head, a lot of stuff like that. And it was a cool time to be a creative person interested in drawing and animation, growing up with that, because it was just like there was so many different styles. And oh god, the cat's back.
Yeah, dude, the cat's back.
Tell that cat to shut the fuck up.
John's talking about cartoons.
God damn
dude,
it.
She loves Liquid TV, all right?
I hate that cat. I hate it. What is that cat's name?
Lily.
God, of course. Stupid name, too. Look at that stupid name for a cat. Name that thing like Mittens or something. Change
Snowball.
change Lily's name to Mittens.
Dude, she's the best cat.
No, she's not. She's literally interrupted like 3 or 4 episodes in a row at this point.
You know what the best thing is to further interrupt your 90s your favorite cartoons. You are definitely a cat person.
No, I'm not. I hate cats. I hate them.
No. That same. Your cat is different because
I hate cats.
They're vicious little killers.
Yeah.
And they only like you. Dude, they hate everybody else.
I don't care because they just get up on and stand on tables and counters and shit where you put food, and I find it to be. I just saw him stand on your desk.
Oh, because I left him on this desk.
Yeah, well,
kitchen won't go on the counter in the kitchen.
Are you sure? Yo, let me tell you something. I love animals. I would never do anything to hurt an animal. But when I see a cat jump on a kitchen table, I want to pick it up and punt it across the fucking street. Like, as hard as I can.
You know what? I agree. That's why, like, we don't let our cats on the kitchen table.
What do you do when the cat jumps on the kitchen table because it jumps on your desk? Do you pick it up and you go, hey, pss, 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 hey, pss, pss, pss,
please don't do that.
Like that?
Please don't do that. Listen, please don't get on my counter anymore. You know what? This one jumped on the stove once when it was on. It won't go up on the counters anymore.
Why? Because you fucking turned the stove on when it was standing on the grates?
No, it just jumped up onto the stove. It was
I'll teach you to jump on my food.
Yeah. So now, yeah, you're definitely a cat person. I can tell.
No, not interested.
You're a your cat person.
No,
not
I don't.
A cat
no,
person.
No, none. My mother-in-law had a cat that was a kitten that I thought I was bonding with for a second, right? And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll give cats a chance.
Yeah.
And then the next time I saw that cat, it was an asshole, and it just like swatted at me and like did some shit, and I was like, fine, fuck you. Like, we're not friends, and we're never gonna be friends. And next time I see you, I'm gonna like yell at you or something, or like take your food away.
But if you've seen that cat every day on a daily basis, it would never do that to you.
No. I want nothing to do with cats. Keep them. You can have them all. Keep all the cats.
Right. No, I don't want them all.
If I get a cat, I'll send them to you. I'll put them in a little box and send them to you.
New York street cats?
Yeah, New York. I'll give you a New York street cat.
New York black street cat.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. He'll have like a little leather jacket on and like have like a greased back hair and a toothpick in his mouth.
Hey,
yo,
give me a water.
Yeah,
give me a water.
Hey, yo.
It's smoking.
Where the mouse is at?
I need a mouse and a water. So 90s cartoons that inspired your Doodles.
Yeah, I think I said all of them already.
Oh, those were the ones.
Yeah. No, those were. I used to just draw those things all the time, all of them. Yeah, for sure.
If you had to pick your favorite cartoon,
one that I drew all the time.
Yeah,
Rocko's Modern Life.
Okay, that's the one that I never really watched.
Yeah, I used to draw that one all the time. I loved it. It was like very kind of like adult, but also childlike simultaneously. And it was like Rocko. I think I haven't seen it in so long, but I think he was I think he wrote comic books or something. And he used to hang out in a comic book store. And I could never get into comic books, but I loved the fact of like watching a character be creative.
Yeah,
you know. And it's really funny. I think I talk about this podcast sometimes because I enjoy it, the We Hate Movies podcast. But they pointed out like a lot of times in movies and TV shows that the go-to profession for someone who needs to be like creative and unique, but also somewhat wealthy is architect. Like, how many fucking architects are in movies and TV shows? Like, everyone's just an architect all the time. And I remember listening to that. I was like, God damn it, you're right. I always used to think architect was such a common profession, but outside of like the architect that I just mentioned, like how many architects did you just meet in your life, like in random scenarios?
Yeah, never. You're never like, oh, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
You're a graphic designer too.
But meanwhile,
but never like
in every sitcom, there's always like a beautiful house and then like a drafting table in the background just to show that the dad is an architect.
You know why? Because it's like commercially acceptable. Like you would never be like, I'm an artist,
Well,
because it's like that doesn't make any money.
it's because I think it's because it shows that the character can be creative and or interesting. It shows that the character can be available for all times of the day because it's a creative profession that doesn't necessarily work 9 to 5, and
Yeah.
that the character can make enough money to live comfortably enough so that the set of the show can be interesting and different and weird and people won't question it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm about to debunk that. um, they might be interesting. They might be rich. They are not smart. uh, what would you point to? Or no, compare today's cartoons with existing 90s cartoons. So what's like a cartoon today? I mean, I think I know this answer, but
Oh well,
which
yeah, shit, man. Like we talk about Disenchantment all the time. I
I
love
just finished.
Disenchantment.
Yeah, dude, that was
So
so
good,
sick.
so good, so good, so good.
Yeah, and we talked about this, but now they're really opening it up. It does feel like, because before
Yeah,
I was like, this is good, but it feels very like
tight.
one dimensional. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, super tight in storyline.
yeah.
And now I'm like, man, this is really opened up.
Well, it went from like one dimensional to just like every dimensional. Like it just seems like there's like limit. Like there's just like too. There's like too much to take in at once now.
Yeah,
You know,
Futurama.
they Futurama
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, they did.
which is pretty awesome. You wanted,
Other cartoons though, man. Like I don't even know what the fuck there is. Honestly, I don't really. Besides like the cartoons that like my daughter watches.
yeah,
She watches like Big City Greens and Gravity Falls and shit like that, which are all really cool cartoons actually. Pickle and Peanut is a really Pickle and Peanut is a straight up like Adult Swim cartoon, but like on Disney Kids or some shit.
yeah.
It's wild. It's a crazy cartoon, but it's pretty cool because it's very much like that like lo-fi style animation. Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know. I don't know.
have you seen Love, Death, and Robots?
No,
Or yeah,
no,
no.
no.
It's just like a limited series, I guess. Like each episode is like directed, and I think it's entirely made by a different
Oh,
studio
really?
kind of thing. Yeah, it's pretty well done. Like there's a lot of really good ones. There's like some that are like 15 minutes long. I think
Hmm.
there's longer. It might all be 15 actually now that I'm thinking
Yeah.
about it. But really interesting. It's cool to see uh kind of just like a whole bunch of different stories falling under one concept or one,
Okay.
and different takes on it or whatever.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
you'd enjoy it because I think we both don't care about Star Wars and Star Trek and
No,
shit like that, or
no.
any kind of like space movie.
Well, like that's why like Futurama was weird that it appealed to me so much because I'm
Yeah.
generally not like a science fiction spaced like I do I not in the sense of like science fiction fantasy. Like I
Hmm.
like science fiction stuff where it's like time travelers and Planet of the Apes and like
Yeah.
shit like that. But like once it get like Star Wars never appealed to me because it was almost just like Lord of the Rings in space.
Which, dude, I love Lord of the Rings.
Do you? Did we talk
Yeah.
about this?
Yeah.
Fuck. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably made fun of you for it, right?
Yeah, you did.
Shit's
But I'll give
shit's
you this.
boring.
No, but it's weird that I love it so much. And I think it's because I was so young, but like,
Right.
because none of that stuff appeals to me at
Nah.
all anymore.
Nah.
And
Did you like
yeah,
Game of Thrones? Did we talk about Game of Thrones?
yeah, we both watched it, right?
Yeah.
You watched it as well.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah.
Like I'll never watch it again.
No interest.
You know what I mean?
And I'm not
Um,
like the type of person where I would like read the book and like lose my mind over it and stuff. It's just like I just don't care.
I've had a lot of people tell me that Harry Potter is actually like a really good book, and I'm like, I'm probably never gonna read that. Like, there's no shot that I'll read it.
I've never heard someone say it's not a good book
Mhm.
or a series of books or
Good point.
whatever. Like everyone who's
Yeah.
ever read it is always just like, yeah, it's great, and I'm sure it is. I just have no interest in that type of shit. Like I don't care about like wizards and warlocks and magic spells and all that shit. Just
Yo, I love just finding like short books or even like short movies or limited series
yeah.
because I'm like, I don't have to invest
Yeah, right.
very
right,
much
right,
time
right,
in
right,
this.
right. I do appreciate. That's one of the things about like the media landscape today is like I do appreciate like the limited series. It's longer than a movie, but it watches like a TV show. So you kind of get the best of
Yeah.
both worlds.
Yeah. And then it's over. It's done.
You know what I watched yesterday was Shadow in the Cloud.
Shadow in the Cloud.
Have you seen this? All
No.
right. Spoiler alerts coming. So if you haven't seen it,
Netflix?
no, it was I don't even remember. I don't remember where I got it from, but it
Yeah.
wasn't on Netflix. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about it a little bit. So if you want to see it, fucking fast forward like a minute or something. It's about a woman during World War II. She gets on a fighter plane with a package that needs to be taken care of, and they force her into like this turret underneath the plane that has like a machine gun on it, and they're being chased by Japanese fighter pilots or whatever. So it's like this whole thing. Most of it is just her in this turret. Like the first half of the movie is just her in it by herself, and she's locked in there, and there's a fucking gremlin on the plane.
Yo, that
And
sounds sick.
and the guys who are like in the plane above, like she has like headphones on and she can hear them, and they're being like really like misogynistic and disgusting and stuff like that, and she's like, you don't know who you're dealing with, blah 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 blah, whatever. So it comes out that the thing in the package is a baby that she had, and she was trying to smuggle it back because she was married, and one of the guys on the plane is actually the father or whatever. So then during all this, the Japanese fighter pilots catch up with them and start shooting at them, and it's like totally unbelievable, but like just like nonstop crazy like nonsensical action the whole time. So she's getting shot at by fighter pilots. Her baby's in a friggin' box in the thing. These guys are fighting amongst themselves, and a gremlin is attacking her all at the same time.
What does this gremlin look like?
It looks kind of like a large bat. It's not bad.
Oh.
The design it's not exactly what I wanted it to be, but it wasn't bad either.
Yeah.
So, long story short, without completely ruining it, she ends up. It's like she's trying to protect her baby, right? And she goes through everything that a mother would do to protect her baby, except elevated times like a million, because it's her like literally hanging off a fighter plane, fighting a gremlin with like one hand while she holds onto the baby with the other, and her foot is like hooked into like a strap, and she's like hanging underneath, and like a fighter jet is like shooting at her and shit. It's like, so the reason why I bring it up is because, and like the way that it ends, I was like, the best way to end this movie is by doing this, and then it happens, and I'm like, it really pulls the whole thing together. It's like, it's very much like a motherly empowerment type of film, and it shows like how important and what mothers can do to go, to like protect their children and all this kind of shit, and they do it in such a way that's so over the top that it feels amazing,
So what you're telling me is she sacrifices herself for the baby?
No, she doesn't. No, because she protects the baby, and it's like essentially there's a happy ending. Like, but the way she does it, and if you watch it, you'll see like like I said, because I was watching it with my wife and my sister-in-law, and I was like, the only thing left to do is this, to really show like what a total and complete perfect mother she is, and then she does it, and I'm like, there it is. Yeah. And it's just like it's a really good way to kind of end it. The problem is that the poster design for the movie is just so cliche, like mid 2000s action poster.
Yeah, what is this?
And the title is just so boring, but like there are hints of brilliance in the movie with like she's in the turret, it's just her, and all she can hear is voices over the headphones. So every time they're like introducing themselves, they do like this really cool like vignette of like the guy of who's speaking, and it's like a really cool kind of like there's like red light on hitting on one side and like green light hitting on the other, and it's like really interesting the way that they do like introduce the character. And there's a lot of like stylistic choices that are super sick, but like if they were to just
like go full with that.
Yeah, like push the aesthetics a little further, and then like push the cheesiness just a hair above, and like have the design of the titles and the movie poster just a step into something a little bit more interesting. Yeah. It would be like a perfect film. You know what
Dude,
I
isn't
mean?
that funny that yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean, and it's the inability to do that thing because they need to sell that thing. Do
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I get film as art, but it seems like furthest from what real art is in the sense of like needing to actually.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like and it's so funny because we were making fun of it at the beginning because there's like 20 different production team logos at the beginning of the movie, and we're like, yo, how many people did it take to finance this film? You know?
Yeah,
And
a
it
lot.
and in the end it's really not much of anything. Like there's CGI, but mostly it's just her sitting in this little chair for like the first 50 minutes of the movie, you
Yeah.
know? But like if they did to this movie what like Quentin Tarantino does to his movies in terms of graphics, color, style, you know,
Yeah.
if they did like what some of like these more like indie style movies do with like title sequences and color and all, it would like, and it's not that it's just like this like super amazing film. It's not that it's that. It's a really enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
And to me, like, it doesn't have to be like fucking Citizen Kane or Gone with the Wind or some shit to be like a masterpiece. Like, it can be a stupid, like, 5-panel comic strip of a movie and still be a masterpiece.
Yeah, because I think
You know?
there's great examples, and I mean, it sucks that you got to bring up like a great example like Quentin Tarantino or something, but there
Yeah.
are like those indie films where you're like, it checks all the boxes in terms of follow through.
Right.
It just
Right.
is what it is, and it
Right.
makes you enjoy it a lot more than if they're. It's like, hey, we're making this like weird, obscure storyline, but we're gonna also have Brad Pitt so we can sell more tickets. And
Right.
his character should die, but he's not gonna because people wouldn't like Brad Pitt dying.
Yes. Right. 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 Exactly. It's also like, did you ever see Grindhouse?
Yes,
The Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez like double feature.
yes, and
Okay.
yeah,
So the first one, like the Robert
like
Rodriguez one.
Death Proof or whatever.
So Death Proof was Quentin Tarantino, and then there was Planet Terror, which was Robert
Yes,
Rodriguez. Like that is a movie that I felt like pushed it so far, like stylistically, that it went into kind of just like the perfect amount of cheese, but like
yeah,
in such a stylistic way that it just nails it. Like the titles were great, the colors were great, the dialogue was just like over the top. Like this movie had like really kind of clunky dialogue at the beginning, and like you kind of hate them at first, but you know that they're trying to be overly cheesy, but like it doesn't
yeah,
hit right away.
yeah.
And
Dude,
it's just like these little tweaks. Like little tweaks would have made this film like my favorite movie ever if they just did some of these things the right way. You know?
man, that reminds me. I just watched yesterday. No Country for Old Men.
Yeah,
Have you seen that? Yeah.
yeah.
Dude, I think that's a great movie.
Yeah, it is a great
Such
movie.
follow through. The characters are like very strong who they are, which
Yeah,
I get you want a character that's like more dimensional, but it's like
right,
sometimes it's really nice to just have like you're saying like an expected line from what a police officer would say. You know what I
right.
mean? Or how like the small town sheriff would act or whatever. And
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
You know what's a good movie that does it really well? Did you ever see The House of the Devil?
No.
So The House of the Devil was a horror movie that came out, I want to say, within the past 10 years or so. The poster design is beautiful. The filming is beautiful. And it's supposed to be kind of like a throwback to like 80s style horror,
Hmm.
but it was done, kind of like in present day. And like, it's so beautifully directed. It's so perfectly acted. It's so perfectly. And oh, here's the other thing about Shadow in the Cloud. The the soundtrack sounded like fucking Stranger Things. It was like synth horror,
Yeah,
like
yeah. I love
80s,
that
but
shit.
it takes place in like 1939 or something.
Oh, you
And
don't love that?
no, I absolutely love it. But the thing
Oh,
that's missing for me is the style of the film just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like they pushed it far enough to make that as great. Like
yeah.
I downloaded the soundtrack or like put it on Spotify like instantly after the movie ended, and I've been listening to it. It's like it's solid.
Yo, yeah, you should share that.
It's yeah, it's super good. So it's like I mean it's on Spotify. Just look up like Shadow in the Cloud, I think, and it's like the soundtrack. but like it's really good. And if just like God, it just makes me so mad. Like the visuals are so close. Like another one was what was that other movie we watched? Promising Young Woman. Did you see that?
No.
I think that's what it was called. Like really good, and like the style and the color of the movie is really good, but they have like these elements where like type comes on the screen and it almost doesn't come up enough or something to make it stylistically relevant. Like
Yeah.
you understand like how it's supposed to be make an impact, but it's like it doesn't kind of happen enough and close enough together for it to like, like the movies may be too long for it to be spaced out that far for it to really hit hard, and
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
some of the things that they do like verbally or stylistically should be a little bit more outrageous, I think, for it to really make that impact.
Have you seen you started watching Wayne,
Yes.
that
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah,
original Wayne?
yeah.
I feel like that's a really good example of something really working because it's not the best dialogue. It's not the best filmed or anything, but it's like super stylized,
Yeah.
weird, big, giant
Yep.
title cutscenes
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and stuff. The music like is definitely not commercial music.
Right.
Um, it works on every level,
Right.
and it's definitely so weird that it's like that's kind of what makes something so good though. Like Ghostbusters or any of those is like it's almost when they
Yeah.
were making them, they weren't like this is the commercial fucking box office hit.
It's
It's
just
like
it's a story that has all the things need to make sense with it. It's not like what's going to appeal to this person, so we have to change this so it appeals to them. Like the perfect
yeah,
example is the fucking Shadow in the Cloud poster. Like it's the
yeah,
same thing. It's like that thing that you see all the time. It's like blue light on one side and orange light on the other, and like action hero in the middle. And it's just
yeah,
like one of the things that really bothered me. Did you see the film Us, that Jordan Peele horror movie?
yeah,
So that movie I thought was great.
yeah.
I thought all across the board it was a great movie, but the thing that bothered me so much was the lettering on the poster for Us.
Yeah. It was it I think what the biggest problem with all of these are is that
They
and
look like
Netflix
free fonts.
yeah, and Netflix is really pushing through this thing, and I'm sure you've noticed this, but it's like it'll start to curate titles
Yeah.
or movie posters for you. So if you like big giant type posters
Yeah, yeah.
and you're constantly clicking on movies with that, it'll start generating those for other movies.
I did notice that. And being that, I've worked with Netflix before, I never had to do that before. So I wonder if it's like if it's maybe like for newer movies, they kind of like do like refreshed artwork.
I think it's because so when you work with Netflix, you probably just do like a title, like title
Yeah,
treatment or
it's
whatever,
just kind of like
kind of stuff.
branding the same way you would do with anything else. And you do one and you do it for like this size and this size and this size and the key
And I
art
think
and all that
those
shit.
pre-generate kind
Right.
of. They use it to like, and then also like you'll see like sometimes it's like not even the movie logo in the title. You know,
Yeah. Right.
it's
Right.
like
Right.
something completely different. And then when you click
Most
on
of the
it,
time it's not.
yeah. So those things are just like generating based on. I think they pre-generate like a whole bunch, but it's like A and B testing. It's like whatever one you're gonna like the most.
Well, a lot of movies, and this is something that I can say from experience, is that like a lot of movies, their marketing logos and shit like that are different than the logos that show up in the title sequence at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Because it's literally two different teams that work on both things.
Yes.
You know,
Which is super makes me very, very, very angry.
very disconnected.
Yeah, and specific like I don't. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not gonna bring up any examples, but there's some examples that were just frustrated me.
It is. It's very disconnected. It's very disconnected.
Some stuff you've done.
Yeah.
It just made me so angry.
Yeah, I know. And
yeah.
it's always stuff that I tried to push through too, where it's just like, I know we're working on the marketing side of things. I'm always like, how do we get this in the title? It would work
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Yo, you guys want us to do it for free?
Yeah, we'll do it for free. Just put it in the title. That's all.
We're already doing it. You guys can use this wherever you want.
Just use it. Just use it.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. That's something that maybe you can give credit to Wes Anderson. Because
Yes.
you've
100%.
single-handedly ruined Wes Anderson for me.
That's what I do, man. That's what I do. But yeah, no,
But-
creatively and like aesthetically,
And drive through.
he does it maybe better than anyone.
because he's been doing it for 20 years, making the same movie every
Yeah.
single fucking time.
I mean, they're visually perfect though. I mean, they really are. They're
Yeah,
just like they're
yeah,
so good. The titles are great. The like he does those things where it's a title treatment will overlay, and it impacts as feeling like you're hitting different chapters.
yes,
It hits
yeah,
you the right way. The visuals are great. The stills are great. The colors are great. Like the over the topness of certain things is great. Like yeah, aesthetically and just like style wise, he's probably the best at it.
yeah, yeah. Fully. I mean, the way he shoots is like you're watching a theater play. It's very centered and very. Would theatrical be the word now? 'Cause
Yeah, yeah,
when you
yeah,
say
yeah,
theatrical, it's like a
yeah.
theater, but like, yeah, he's a good example of that. Not that I like his movies anymore. You fucking wrecked that for me.
I
Every
mean,
movie, I'm like, this is the same shit.
it's really the same thing. It's the same thing. I mean, he's playing the hits, man. I get it. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
you do what you got to do.
Yeah. Quentin Tarantino always picks what feel like very weird, different
I
storylines.
mean, honestly, he's also he's the same thing. He's a different Wes Anderson.
You think though? Because I feel like the stories are always different.
I think they're yeah. You know what? Maybe they are. I mean, they are different enough where they're just like some are more outrageous, some are more toned down. But I think it's more or less it's just watching him grow
Yeah.
as a creator. It's you know like if you watch Reservoir Dogs and then you watch like Django or like Inglorious Bastards or something like that or fucking Once Upon a Time in
Same
Hollywood.
dialogue or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you know, like you can see like some like the older ones are closer, like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, and then you know, like you start to move into like the more modern ones, and there's just so much more. Like the old ones seem like they are very much kind of like a DIY independent. The newer
Which,
ones
yeah.
seem like they're more like a love affair with the process. So it's like the movies are long and they're detailed and there's like a lot of flourishes to them, but there's just like such an attention to the process. Like it almost doesn't matter what it is. Like Once Upon a Time in
Yeah.
Hollywood, like it was just kind of like fun to watch. Like nothing happened for the whole time, and then the
Yeah.
end was just like a holy shit. You know, he was like, "Oh, I might as well end this with a bang because the rest of it
Yeah.
was really kind of nothing." You know?
People need to leave the theater thinking they seen something.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And his Hateful Eight or whatever was that as well.
Yeah, I like
The whole
Django ended
movie
the same
stuff.
way. Inglorious Bastards was the same way with like when they kill Hitler at the end. Like it's like
Yeah.
kind of like it's just like fun to watch like a bunch of like things that almost like there's it almost feels like it doesn't even build to anything. It's just like a bunch of shit
Yeah.
that happens, and then holy shit, like here's this crazy crescendo that somehow makes sense, and then I
Yeah,
love this
yeah.
movie all of a sudden.
Yo, that's a really good point. And I mean, you're not gonna Wes Anderson me with these ones, but I still appreciate it. But yeah, there is a weird attention to just like the love of film or something like
Yeah,
that that
yeah,
it comes with. Yeah, 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 for sure.
yeah.
Uh, you want to do more throwback questions?
Yeah, let's do a couple more, and then we'll call it a day.
All right, this is a good one. This is a good dark one.
Nice, bring it.
This You're seemingly always working, but in the moments you pause, do you have any trepidation about getting older in regards to design or more generally to life?
I I've reached a point, and I don't know if this is the same as my first answer, but I've reached a point where I don't care about design the way I used to because design isn't an external source anymore. Design is just who I am. Like
Mm,
I live design so much throughout the day. It's just it doesn't feel like an exterior part of my life anymore. It just feels
yeah,
like eating and breathing and sleeping, designing. Like it's just so much ingrained into my thinking. Like literally everything I do is design oriented in some way, shape, or form. And it helps that my kids are interested in creativity also because it's like okay, when I walk away from my work, I can help them with theirs. and they have like, the little one is little, she can only do so much, but my older one is just so creative and interesting now. Now that
Yo,
she's like getting older. What I sent you a
yeah,
drawing yesterday.
yeah, dude, and I like want that to be. I want that to be a series. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean? Like I feel like you need to publish like a book,
yeah.
like a zine of just her drawings.
Her drawings are. She is, for an 8-year-old. She is so clever with what she does. So it was okay. So
Yeah,
yesterday,
dude, you got to talk about this one.
yesterday, my wife was making dinner, and I was feeding the little one, and my older daughter, who's 8, and my sister-in-law were there, and we were hanging out, and my older daughter wanted to have a drawing contest. So I'm sitting there feeding the baby, whatever, and she's not a baby; she's 2 years old. But um, I'm helping her eat dinner, and I'm like, okay, so I'll give you guys things to draw. You draw them. So I'll describe it because it's amazing.
Yeah,
Let me pull it up really quick here. So I sent it to you, right?
yeah, yeah. You sent it just yesterday, I guess. My
Was it
phone's like
yes?
laying on the floor because my cat knocked it off the counter.
Dude, it's so funny. It's like where are all my
Dude, I could
texts
describe it.
ever? No, well, I want it to be okay. I
Yeah.
got it. Okay, so I was trying to come up with random stuff so that they would have to like work to make it interesting. So I
Mhm.
told them to draw a ghost picnic, right? So my sister-in-law, she can draw too. So she drew like ghosts having a picnic or whatever. So then my daughter shows me her drawing of the ghost picnic, and it's two ghosts having a picnic, right? And there's a sun up in the corner, like like there's the sun up in the corner, and the sun has like shades on or whatever. And the one ghost is sitting, and they're talking, and one ghost said, "How is your mom?" and the other ghost says, "She's dead." and then the sun has two speech bubbles, and it just one speech bubble says OMG, and then the other speech bubble says dead exclamation point question mark, and the sun's face is so shocked, and like dude, it is so good. The drawings are so cool. The way that she like has this narrative in it is like solid, and like the
Yeah,
commentary is just bizarre. And I'm
dude,
just like, yo, this is my favorite drawing I've ever seen in my life.
dude, when you sent me that, I was so impressed. I was like the follow through, like on every level, like with
Yep.
just the conversation, but then like
Yup.
just a stun, like
Yeah.
popping in and being like
It's like, oh
like
my
a
god.
remark. Yeah, dude, like that could be like an episode. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yes.
yeah, I don't know. It's so lively or whatever.
It's incredible. It's so like to kind of like watch that stuff. Like there's no like design is just like baked into me at this point. But I will say, in that process, and I'm not even 40 yet, but like I'm starting to I'm starting to see life turn on me, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like I remember I was talking to my dad when his father died, and he was like, it's really weird. He's like, I kind of feel like an orphan now, And
Yeah.
even though my dad, at the time he was like, I don't know, in his 50s or 60 or something like that. And it's just like, because once the older generation is gone, everyone moves up a notch, you know? And
Like you
now,
become the old person?
exactly. So like now my parents are the grandparents, and they're like the older ones when we're all together. And now I am the fucking parent. Whereas in my head, I still feel like the kid who's like, yo, while the parents are like making food, let's go outside and play wiffle ball or some shit like that.
And you wanna
And that's in my head, that's how I feel. But in reality, I sit there and I look at myself and I look at my kids and I look at my wife, and I'm just like, shit, we're the grown-ups, and especially now that my older daughter is getting to this point where she can write narrative and
Yeah.
and be effective and understand like nuances of conversation and life and stuff like that, and then illustrate them in such a way that's actually interesting. Like I'm like, holy shit, like she's growing, and I am becoming like I'm becoming the irrelevant, like just resource of
Yeah.
like wisdom and stuff that she'll need to tap into. You know, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's like when I'm there, I'm almost like I don't feel like I'm like I do always feel like I'm learning, but like when I'm with my kids, I don't feel like I'm learning in the same way. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm here and I'm like decaying now. You know what I mean? And I know that
Yeah.
I'm still young and I have, knock on wood, I got a lot of years left, hopefully. And I'm in,
Uh,
yeah, we're not talking about you. Um, we've discussed this that I'm going to outlive you.
yeah.
Yeah, I know
Except
that.
for, you know what? I really
I
hope.
know
I
that for a
hope that's
fact.
not true. But
No,
how
but
great will it be?
it will be. And once you
I've,
die
I've,
and I'm alive still, I'm just going to be like, I told you.
no, I texted you. I said, because you know what happens when you die.
What's that?
Anybody that's gonna write a little like paper thing about John Contino and
Yeah.
his legacy, they're gonna come to the public facing BTI. They're gonna be like, well, this guy worked with John, even though you've worked with a lot of people. They're
Let's
gonna
go
be like,
talk to
well,
him.
yeah, let's go talk to BTI. Like that was his intern.
That was his
Surely that intern.
co-host.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It was his intern for 45 years.
yeah. And this is my chance. This is my chance to get back at you.
Dude, it's your time to shine. And then
Yeah.
I'll haunt you from beyond the
Yeah.
grave.
So you're gonna live a really long time. So I'm gonna be like an old piece of shit and like just like so old and not being able to explain what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Can't even do that now.
No, 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 no. It's not gonna change, man. It's not gonna change. And then like you'll be there and you'll like it'll be right at the time when you're about to make a comment, and then all of a sudden like a light bulb will blow or some shit, or like something will fall down and everybody like, oh my god, and then the interview will stop and they're like, no, we're good. We got everything we need.
No, I'll die. I'll
Yeah.
die. Mid-interview. They're like, tell us about John. I'll be like, about John, and then I'll just die.
You just
My last chance to.
your eyeballs will just explode out of your skull, and then you'll just fall down and be like, I never saw that happen before.
John never ever, and then I'll die.
Yeah. It's like exactly like the dogs at midnight, dude.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my legacy right there.
Man, I feel like that's a really good place to stop, I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Circles back around to fucking dogs talking at midnight. It always does. It always does. As always, this is the point of the episode where I ask you if you have any words of wisdom that you want to share.